DJ, DJ, tranquilo, yeah, you got the yummy.
So, okay, good. Good evening, everyone. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Zian, and I am your dance teacher for tonight. And we're going to do the bachata tonight. Some of you have learned bachata before, and some of you haven't. But just to make sure that we are all doing the same thing and we are all at the same progress, I will start from scratch, like really from the basics, as if brand new beginner never learned before. Okay, so at least we all learn same thing together. Make sure that we're all doing the same thing together, all right? Okay, so for the first part, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be facing you this way. So we're going to do mirror image first, which means that this is my left leg, this is your right. And then this is my right leg, this becomes your left. So we're doing mirror image, okay? All right, so ladies always begin with the right foot. In almost all Latin dances, ladies begin with the right foot. Remember, because ladies are always right. Woo! Okay, anyway, so we always start with our right foot, and bachata steps are actually quite simple. The beauty in bachata is actually from the hips. I'm going to show you how to do the hips later. Let me show you the steps first. And we're doing the solo tonight, so there's no partner tonight. Actually, bachata, memang you dance as partner one, and we find it's very sensual. And you see the couples doing bachata is very, very sexy. In fact, some people say it's almost like having sex on the dance floor. Okay, so we're not having that tonight. Okay, we're by ourselves today. But we will still know how to do the sexy moves. So let's start with the basic steps first. Bachata basic, very, very easy. What you're going to do is you're going to take 2 steps to your right, starting with your right foot. 2 steps meaning you're going to go step, close, step. Last step is also a close. But what happens is your last step is to touch the ball of your foot on the floor. That means, right, you touch, your heel doesn't touch the floor. Don't do this. Heel on your balls on the floor. That's the last step. So again, you have step, together, step, ball. In case you're wondering why I'm wearing these pants, like I shared just now, I haven't do the laundry yet. So anyway, yeah, so that's how you just touch the ball on the floor. Why? Because you're going to go back to your left. Then you go back to your left, same thing, step, together, step, together. That's why your last step, you don't put the heel on the floor. You touch the ball of the foot on the floor so that you can go against. So every time you do a step means your whole foot steps down flat. That means the whole foot, heel and ball all on the floor. Step, together, step, tap. So when I say tap, tap means only the ball of the foot touches the floor. You go back that way, step, together, step, tap. Okay, so again, your bachata basic starts with your right foot, 2 steps to the right, step, together, step, tap, go back that way, step, together, step, tap. So like I said, in music, musical bars are usually up to 4, musical phrases up to 8. So that's why normally in music and dancing, you always hear us counting up to 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's why most of the steps in dancing are designed with numbers from 1 to 8. So your steps matches the musical beats. So when we say, when we want to put this in music, starting with this foot, you have 1, 2, 3, 4. Go back that way, it's 5, 6, 7, 8. That's how we count it. That's how we put it to the music for bachata. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's a bachata basic. Wow, can dance already. So simple, right? But what makes a bachata is not the steps, it's the hip work. So you actually want to add hips in order to make it bachata. So Latin is actually all about hips. Steps, right? When it comes to dancing, steps is very easy. Anyone can do steps. But the beauty comes from the hips. So anyone can do steps, but what we want to learn is how to do hips. Correct? Okay. So let's go through the merengue hips. Merengue hips. So what happens is merengue hips, right, is a very Latin kind of a technique. So we use merengue hips in merengue, in salsa, in bachata, in rumba, cha-cha, jive also, samba also. So yeah, like all Latin movements. Why they're called merengue hips? Merengue is a kind of Latin dancer. Why they're called merengue hips is because it comes from the merengue dance. Not meringue, it's not lemon meringue pie, not that one. Merengue, it's a different kind of dance. So merengue is very easy because what happens is when you dance with a partner, you just step, marching only like you dance, and make it like that. It's very easy and anyone can do merengue. It's the hips that's difficult. So I teach you the easy one for bachata hips, right? So what happens is you do this. Don't worry about all the steps. Just go step together, step, tap. You will do the hips on number 4. Step number 4. How? When you press your ball on the floor, your knee should be bent. Don't try to go straight up. Bend knees. Because your knee is bent, you can add a hip. So like you bend, you touch your foot like this. Now while your knee is free, right? Don't use your knee, use the hip. Put your hand here, try to push your hip with your hand. Push your hip with the hand. Not the knee, don't use the knee. Don't do this. Okay? I go closer. Don't do this, Put here, push, use the hip. Push the hip with your hand. Okay? Push the hand with your hip. Yeah. It must all be hip. You never use the knee. If you use knee, one thing is you can give yourself the tennis elbow version of the knee, and then you can end up like snapping your knee. So don't. That's why you use the hip. Okay? When you use the hip, the knee might straighten a little bit, but the knee never goes completely straight. Never. Use the hip. So that's the basic bachata hip. You do this on the 4. 1, 2, 3. Don't need. Just go 1, 2, 3, 4. So when you do the 4, you cannot do it together. Don't 4 together. It's very weird. You always have to touch the floor first, touch the floor, then hip. So it's like a split second, one after the other. Yeah, you have 1, 2, 3. Press on the floor first, then hip. So you have to put like a form, like that, like almost close together lah. Okay, got time one, don't worry. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you do the hip on the 8. So you go back that way. 5, 6, 7. Same thing. Now you have to practice with your other foot. With your right foot, step, hip. Now it's this side, hip. Okay? 8. So that's how you add the hips into your bachata. Because the steps are super easy. It's the hips that makes it more beautiful. Right? So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Use the hips up again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm putting my hands here just to show you the hip. You don't have to do it now. You don't have to put your hands here. You can just leave them freely to sway. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. When we're dancing Latin, when you dance with a partner, your partner will decide, meaning your lead. Because ladies are always the follow, the men are always the lead. So when you're dancing with a partner, the man or the lead is the one who decides what steps we're going to do. So next time, even you dance lady and lady, one lady must be the follow, one lady must be the lead. The lead decides what steps we're going to be dancing. But when you're doing solo, like we are now, up to you to decide what steps that you want to do. So the difference is that, like in Latin, right, there's no fixed choreography. So let's say next time you just want to go on the floor and dance, like okay, freestyle, actually you can do whatever steps you want on the Latin dance floor because as long as you match the music, it's not a problem. Okay? So I want to show you now. Okay, let's say you find, okay, Bachata Basic, very nice. But let's say you want to make it a bit more oomph. So I'm going to show you how to do a turn now. Now we're going to do a 3-point turn. A 3-point turn just means you turn one circle in 3 steps. So many of you have learned this before, but we'll just go through again. Now we're going to learn it Bachata style. So when you do a turn, okay, we're going to start our right foot first because ladies always have the right foot. You're going to turn to your right. I want you to imagine that you are going on a straight line, right? Straight line this way, like the Bachata Basic straight line now, right? Straight line. You go along the straight line, you're traveling there, 3 steps, make 1 circle. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's 1 circle. So when you do the turn, don't stop. Don't go. Okay. Okay, no, you got no time, you will get stuck, and then halfway the music finish, you haven't finished dancing yet also. So make sure you just go. Think of it, okay, I want to turn to my right, 1 circle, 3 steps. 1, 2, 3. 1 line. Don't worry, must be first one, we don't think about first step, I must go this way, second step, I must go this way. You don't do that. If you do that, you will get very confused. So just think 1 straight line, 3 steps. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's why it's called a 3-point turn. 3-point turns, they exist in all other dances as well. They have this in hip hop, jazz, belly dancing, even contemporary ballet. They definitely have this also. So because it's such a simple turn. So in bachata, how you do this turn is basically same thing. 1, 2, 3. On the 4, you do the same thing as the Bachata Basic. You close with a tap and a hit. That's how you make it bachata. In fact, when you dance with a partner, if it turns you like this, you also still finish with a hit. So it's actually for bachata partner work as well. So you go 1, 2, 3, hit. You add the hit. Okay. If you want to go back that way with the 3-point turn, can, no problem. Exactly the same thing. Straight line, 3 steps to make 1 circle. This time you turn to your left. 1, 2, 3. Last step is your hip. Okay. So if I do it this way with my right foot, you turn to your right. That means you go clockwise. Yeah, don't think clockwise lah. Just try to draw the clock with this. You just think, okay, I'm going to right, turn right. Straight line up, 2, 3, tap. Then you can go back, 3-point turn, turn to your left. 1, 2, 3, tap with the hip. So that's your 3-point turn. So in this case, when you do a 3-point turn, okay, you can go 1, 2, 3, tap, 1, 2, 3, tap with the hip. So that's how you make it a bachata. Okay, so just to let you know, for the bachata routine, today not really much routine. So today I'm just teaching you this because the 3-point turn is an actual step, but I want to introduce it to you as a variation. So a variation here means, right, let's say, right, you can dance Bachata Basic throughout the whole song, no problem, just stay here, Bachata Basic. But let's say now you're so pro already, you're like, yeah, Bachata Basic, I can do in my sleep, I sleep dance also can. So if you get, like, you want something more of a challenge, instead of doing the Bachata Basic, you do the 3-point turn instead. Okay. Now, when to do the 3-point turn, it's up to you, right? And the 3-point turn, right, doesn't mean you must go 3-point turn there, 3-point turn come back. Don't have to do 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3. No need. Because for some people it might be too much. You feel like, hey, I turn there, turn back, or too dizzy, right? So you can choose. You want to go both ways turn, or you can go straight, come back with a turn, or turn, come back straight. Options are, so you can do turn both ways, or you can do, you go there, flat, come back, turn. Or you can go, turn, and come back straight. Okay, so I'm just explaining this. Okay, so why, right, you have the option here. Now, like I said, when you're dancing with a partner, your partner decides, your lead decides what steps that you should do. But if you're doing it as a solo, then it's completely up to you. You want to stay here without the turn, also can. Because sometimes when you do a really nice hip, it's actually far better than doing a bad turn. A bad turn, when you turn, oops, don't know where you go, right? So sometimes it's better to do a very beautiful basic than to do a very bad turn. But if you're very pro already, you're like, okay, basic is boring, and in the turn, go ahead. But for some people, sometimes you don't like to turn too much. That's why you can choose when you want to do the turn. And go straight, come back and turn. Okay? Or you can go turn and come back straight. So this is really, really up to you. So later when we dance, right, I will give you option now. Let's say you can do we're going to do basic. If you feel a bit very boring, do a turn instead. By all means, go ahead. Okay. Later you dance on the dance floor, also up to you. Like basic is so simple. You want to show off a bit. You wear pretty skirt, and you want to see it swoosh. Then you turn lah. Okay. So how to make it a bachata? It's the hip action. Okay. When you finish, at the hip. When you finish, at the hip. So that's how you make it into a bachata movement. It's the hip action. Okay, so that's your. So we covered bachata basic and the turn. Oh, we haven't done the music yet, huh? Okay, so what we'll do now is just to get used, so that we get used to the turn to music. I'm just going to play the song, and what we'll do is we'll do that. I'm going to suggest we do basic one set, then turn, and then we keep going. Basic one set, turn. If at any time you feel too dizzy and you want to do one turn, one basic, one turn, by all means, so that means you don't have to follow me now. You can just change it up to, let's say, too much turns. So I'll change it to one turn, one basic, or one basic, one turn. You understand what I mean? Okay. So anyway, that's for two steps. Two figures we already learned now, right? We already learned the bachata basic, and then we learned the 3-point turn. Okay? So we're going to do another type of basic. So you have the side basic. Now we're going to do the forward and back basic. Okay, forward and back is very easy. Again, ladies, you start with the right foot. So always remember, always start with the right foot. Easier for ladies actually because the guys always start with their left, but most of us are right-footed. So when you're right-footed means you tend to start with your right foot. So it's a lot easier to think about last time the right foot. Okay. So remember, bachata basic was what? 3 steps: 1, 2, 3, touch. 1, 2, 3, touch. Right? It's like when you go forward and back, same thing. 1, 2, 3, touch. 1, 2, 3, touch. So start with the right foot. This time, you walk forward. It's not 1, 2, 3. Don't walk together. It's not that. Just walk forward. 1, 2, 3, like forward normal. And what you do is you just tap your left foot next to your right foot. So same thing still on the ball. And you can add the hip. Same thing. Do the hip. Then when you go back, it's now your left foot that goes back because it's on ball, ma. So left foot goes back 3 steps. Walk normally. Don't. Okay. Go. 1, 2, 3. This foot. Add the hip. Tap. Okay. So again, walk forward. 1, 2, 3. Hip. Back. 2, 3. Hip. Okay. Let me give you a suggestion on how to make this even better. So when you are going forward and back, instead of just going, of course you go straight forward. Don't try to sing it, go somewhere else. You only sing it if, let's say, got something in front of you. Like let's say you're dancing, and then out of the blue, something magically appear in front of you, like another dancer or your child. Hey, what are you doing here? Okay, right, the paksa, go this way, the paksa. But if nothing is there, you walk straight. Okay, so you just go 1, 2, 3, but your last step to make this nicer, instead of hip here, you can corner, hip here. Hip this way. How? So you have 1, 2, 3, turn your hip. That means like what you do is when you step together, you just turn, just bring this, instead of stepping here, you step forward a bit so you can hip. That means end up your hip face corner. Why? Because a lot of dance movements always look better when you're doing it to a corner and not straight. So if you go straight, boom, tap, 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 it's okay. But if you do it to a corner, when you do the hip is more obvious. See, if I do this, yeah, you can see the hip. But if I do this, you can see more hip movement because the bump, also you can see more the shape of your bump. So ladies always, especially those of you who have nice bum, you want to show off a bit lah, okay? You do stay here, like for me, no shape, not so nice, right? So okay lah, create the shape, do this. So when you do this, you actually have a nicer shape. That's why when you do the hip action, you try to do more to a corner. Now, when you do the corner, your face can still stay forward. Don't look there because kind of spoil the shape. So it's like a bit gonna show off lah. Because I thought you dance to show off, right? So you're like showing off your hip to your audience. Like look at my bum so nice. Okay. So this is your audience. Look at your audience. So you show your hip, the hip to the audience. So when you go back, you can also do the same thing, right? So when you go back, make sure you turn, step back, straight line. And this time, because it's your right hip, this corner, hip, show off the hip. So let me do it this way so that you can follow me. So you start your right foot. 1, 2, 3. I'm facing here. Hip. Then left leg go back, right? 5, 6, 7. Hip. So you see, I turn my body. Hip. But the face is still here. Your audience is here. Show your hip off. Look at your audience. Don't look there. Look there. Okay, now. Right foot. 1, 2, 3. Hip. What's this way? Hip. Back. 6, 7. Hip. Okay, now. Okay, so that's how you can make your movements look even better. Because sometimes you can do a move very well, but you want to make it look better. These are little tricks now, how to make your movements better. Okay, so again, so when you go forward, it's 1, 2, 3. Hip, back, 6, 7, hip. Yeah, show off your hip. Nice. Let me give you one more option. I know a lot of options, like no, I was saying options because the thing is, bachata is not difficult. So sometimes I like to give a lot of options so that you take the options that you like, and then when you dance, you make it your own style of dancing rather than somebody else's style of dancing. So I'm giving you some options here. So next time, you feel free to explore more options that you can add on to the dancing. This is just to open your mind for ideas of what else you can do. So some of you already seen my video, but I'm just going to, on the bachata dance that I shared a long time ago. But anyway, I'm just going to go through to remind you how to do this. So here's your option. So when you go forward with your right foot, 1, 2, 3. Now, the fourth step, you are supposed to, sorry, you really fell down. You're supposed to do this, right? Your option is you can do a knee up. A knee up. That means you knee up. Okay, like this. So that means when you do this, you go 1, 2, 3, knee up and back. Tap, tap. The last one usually no knee up. Because when you go forward, you do this way. Okay. Go this way. Let me show you from this way. So you do right foot. 1, 2, 3. Up and back. Tap, tap, tap. So usually the forward one has a knee, and this is actually a bachata dance movement. You might have, if you watch people dance, sometimes they do this. So what happens is when they go forward, 1, 2, 3, this leg is actually doing a cycle motion. So it looks like this. It goes to up and back. So that's why we only do the knee up on the forward motion. So when you've got your 1, 2, 3, What happens is on your 4, you think about bringing your knee into a cycle motion. Tap, tap, and back. So it's like you're cycling up, you cycle back, back, back. So here we don't cycle, we don't do that knee up because it's against the flow of the motion. Because if you go up, tap, 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 knee up, you're going back again. It's kind of weird. You want to go forward, ma. So you also don't want to do this because that's like starting a motorbike. So just now a cycle, don't do the motorcycle in the back. Okay? So normally we only do knee up on the forward, normally. So how to do this again? Now right foot goes 1, 2, 3. This foot, think about bringing the knee forward, then go back. So what happens is your foot, right? It's how you do it? You draw a circle with your foot, but you use the knee to come up and back. Okay. If you can't do the cycle motion, it's okay. You just go 1, 2, 3, up and back. Also very nice. To make this nice, what happens is you got to make sure that this leg, right? Don't do this. See what I did, huh? Don't do this. This is Mima really starting motorcycle. Get your toe to point to the floor. That is very graceful, right? If you do this, watch, huh? You go, tap, tap, tap. It's very ugly because the foot is like that. Alright? So don't do that. What you want to do is try to get your toe to the floor. So 1, 2, 3, up and back. Tap, tap, tap. Anytime you bring your foot up in Latin, always aim for the toe down. Don't do this. You do this is yeah. Not nice. Can see, don't do this, do this, Okay, I know some of you brand new say, what is she talking about? This is just to teach you a bit technique to make this nicer. So don't worry so much, just think about the knee up and back. Alright? So that's your option. You don't have to do it as a solo dancer, but it's very nice if you can. So when you go forward, your right foot, 1, 2, 3, and up, back, 6, 7, tap. If you actually knee up, never mind, it's okay. Don't stress about it, it's alright. Just that we normally don't do the knee at the back. Even when you go knee up, if you want to angle a bit, that means boom, tap, 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 also can. It's like, my mom is so nice, look at my mom. Can, it's okay, can one, right? So you can go boom, tap, tap, knee up, and boom, tap, tap, tap. Because that way, when you do it, if you do straight, sometimes people can't see, hey, what's happening, right? So sometimes you do this, so people can see, oh, she's got her knee up, and then you can see the bump very nice. You do this, you can even add the hip if you like. Boom. You can balance, you can balance. Hip with the knee. That is very nice also. Alright. So how you do this? Let me do it this way. So on your right foot, you got 1, 2, 3, 4. So your knee is pointing there, hip up. If you can. If you cannot, never mind. Just aim for the knee first and back. 6, 7, touch. So that's your option. Alright? If you like, you can do it. You don't like, you don't have to do it. Okay? It's if you feel it's not nice, it's a different story. Not nice can become nice. It's whether you like it or not. So if you don't like, you need to do it. If you like it, but if you're not nice, then you just practice to get it nice. How to practice is you look at yourself in the mirror. There's no other choice. Look at yourself in the mirror and then you see nice or not nice, how to fix. Okay? So one thing to make sure that it's nice is when your knee goes up, don't open. Don't like. Okay, don't open, right? You gotta cup it. You gotta kiap. Always say kiap. So 1, 2, 3, knee up. Because remember that we are ladies, right? So every time the knee goes up, you try to aim for your feet to your thighs to get too close. So don't open, and you close. That's how you get it nice, and it's better for your stability also. So even when you do it at an angle, okay, close. So that's how you make it look better. So you got your 1, 2, 3, knee up and back, back, touch. Actually, out, so never mind, but I will touch. Okay. Okay, so so that's your options, huh? So when you go forward and back, you got two options. You just touch with your ball, or you can be up on the forward. Okay, so I haven't taught you any hands yet, because normally there's no special bachata hands, because we're doing basic steps first, so usually basic not much hands. So I suggest for tonight we're going to just do hands on the 4 and the 8, and this one is more of a posing hands, more than anything. So what happens is every time you do the hit, whether it's a basic, your turn, or the forward and back, it's like you can emphasize your hip movement. So let's say Bachata Basic, boom, tap, 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 right? So an option is you can put your hand on your hip, like this or like this, doesn't matter, to emphasize the fact that your hips are moving. So you don't put your hand, push your hip down, it's more like this. So why we put our hands on the hip when the hip is moving is because it's to bring attention to the hip. That's part of dancing. Because sometimes you do something, right? Like, what did she do? You notice, right? But you put your hand on the hip, it's bringing attention to the fact, hey, can you see it not? I'm moving my hip. Okay? So if you want to angle your hips during the Bachata Basic, also can. Just now I teach you straight. I only teach you angle during the forward and back, right? If you want to do hit the angle hit during the Bachata Basic, also can. Boom, tap, tap, tap. See, I turn my hip, touch, emphasize. So which means that if it's your left foot, you turn to your left corner. Right foot, right corner. Okay? Left foot, left corner, right foot, right corner. Okay, but when you travel straight, please travel straight. Don't like accidentally go that way. Not wrong, just that if you're dancing with other people, you crash into other people, no more social distancing already. Okay? So it's a straight line first, then angle your hip. You only angle when you do the hip. You go back straight line, angle for the hip. So when your hand goes on the hip, okay, it's okay lah, you put the hip here, but then this hand do what? Right? So this hand, you can use this to as a pose. For example, you can like, if you want, right? You can put it here. You imagine sexy lah. Okay, imagine sexy. If you feel weird, other option is hand can go up. Also can, alright? Hand don't go here, so it's fine. Let's say you want to do this, or you just want to do like this, also can. But for me, I prefer to do it on my hip because this hand is like so long, don't know what to do. So I like to place it on my hip because at least it's not doing nothing. So the other hand is more like to emphasize your pose. So you can do this, you can do this. You want to put both hands on the hip, also can, right? So sometimes we don't know what to do with our hands, then you feel weird doing other stuff. You can just put on your hip, boom, tap, tap, hip. So we only put our hands on the last part because if you keep your hands on the hips throughout the dance movement, it's very rigid, like robot, and like old style line dancing. It's very weird. Like I don't know, I feel very weird. It's like no fluidity. So normally we want to emphasize the movement of the hips. That's why you only do something on the hip, on the 4 and 8. So you can go boom, pop, pop, hip, boom, pop, pop, hip. Okay, or you can do the other hand movement. So boom, pop, pop, hip, boom, pop, pop, hip. So when you do the other hip, that means this hand is on the hip, this hand up, no? So which means outside hand up, outside hand up, outside hand, outside hand. Okay. Or you wanna also can, right? Okay, you feel the So you can do this. So we'll just stick to this hand movements for all the figures. Because if I give you too many hands, it's gonna get very confusing. So that's just for tonight. Let us get used to how to coordinate the hands with the hips. So even if you're doing the turn, you can also do the same handwork. Boom, tap, tap, hit, boom, pop, pop, hit. Or you can go boom, pop, pop, hit, boom, pop, pop, hit. Also can. Okay. Or the this one lah. Okay, also can if you want. Alright? Cute lah, up to you, okay? If you can pull it off, please do. I can't do the cute all the time, it's very jelak. Your forward and back also, you can do the same hand movement. So you can also go your boom, pop, pop, tap, boom, tap, 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 or you can go boom, pop, pop, tap, boom, pop, pop, tap. So if you can't remember which hand to go on which hip, or which one to go up, right? Just always remember that the side that's doing the hip, that's where you put your hand on. The other hand is a bit freer. You can do here, you can do here, you can do here. But other movements you want to do also can, right? Okay, up to you, right? But this hand normally on the hip. Why? Because you're doing the hip. You want to emphasize the hip motion. So you can do here, you can do your hand like this, do like this, whichever. But it's to emphasize, to bring attention to the fact that your hip is doing this. Your hand goes up, it's also obvious that your hip is doing something. You put here, that's more obvious because your hand is moving with your hip. That's why it's more obvious. So that's the general idea. Okay. So you can let's stick to the same hands first for the basic, the turn, and the forward and back. Because like I said, we are learning to coordinate our hand movements with our hips first. So we'll just stick to that first now. So we've already covered 3 different figures. You've got your side, the turn, the forward back. Okay. So what we'll do for tonight is we're going to combine all of that into a super simple bachata routine, and we're going to just repeat that over and over again. We'll try to dance the whole song. So how this is going to work is this. We're going to do 2 sets of the side, followed by 2 sets of forward and back. Go back to 2 sides, 2 forward and back. So when you are doing the bachata sides, your choice, you want to do bachata basic or you want to do the turn. That one, I leave it up to you. Right? I'm not going to tell you tonight. But if you're like, okay, I got to make a choice, I don't know which one to do, then my recommendation is you do 1 set bachata basic, 1 set of turns. Means basic, turn, turn. Why? Because it's good to practice everything. Because if you only, let's say you don't practice your turn, let's say you don't do turn, turn, you only do 1 side turn, you only turn to your right only. Then forever you can only turn your right, your left turn won't be so good. So you can practice turning right and turning left. Then both sides, when you practice, both sides will become very good. So that's why if you're not sure which one to do, we do both. So you do 1 side bachata, 1 set bachata basic, 1 set of turns. So I'll do that. Okay? I'll do bachata basic 1 set, turn, turn. If you are confident enough to change, then you change that to the 1 side, 1 basic, 1 turn up to you. Okay? Then the forward and back also, your option, you can do the tap or you can do the knee up. That one is really up to you. 2 basic, the back. 2 like this, 2 like this, you choose what you're going to do, okay? Let's go to music. Zian will stop talking now, we dance, okay?
DJ, DJ.